Oh, hi. The NFL trade deadline, just a week away. We're going to preview, will the Eagles make a move? Howie Roseman has done it a lot since taking back over in 2016. We talk about it next on the PHLY Eagles Podcast with Bo Wulf and Zach Berman. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles Podcast, presented by the good folks at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Welcome to the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, a week away from the most important day in this nation's history. That's right. The NFL trade deadline moved back a week. Zach, how you feeling? You ready to go? You've done some work now.
Yes.
Nice, maybe a little bit of a silver lining to the day that you had at the Cincinnati airport yesterday, that you had enough time to dig through these options.
Yes, 11 hours in the Cincinnati airport. Did not eat Skyline chili. I want to make that clear.
And why? Explain why.
I don't like to...
a particular phobia of yours.
Yeah, I'm not a big public bathroom guy.
Okay.
Right? I like to spend as little time as possible in a public bathroom.
Okay.
And so...
reasonable.
So Skyline chili is not something I'm looking forward to in an airport for sure. Nonetheless, I was able to kind of dig in on some trade deadline possibilities, and I will have something on all PHLY later. But I wanted to save the good stuff for the show. This is actually a little change of pace for me. Not that I don't save the good stuff for the show, but typically I put the article out first, and then I reference the article. But here, I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about it on the show first.
Talk about it. Be about it.
And what? And then let's talk about it on the show first, and then the article will come out thereafter on all PHLY, which can be a diehard with our introductory rate to
$4 a month.
$4. Well, it's $48 a year, but an average of $4 a month.
Yes. Yeah. All right. How was your day at the airport yesterday? How was the Cincinnati airport for longevity?
Honestly, I got to say, it was the people there were very nice.
Okay.
There were a lot of empty gates, so I kind of felt like from the 8 o'clock hour to the 10 o'clock hour, I was just watching a game by myself in a gate. From the 6 o'clock hour to the 7:30 hour, I was in a different part of the airport. I felt like Tom Hanks in Terminal.
Oh,
if I can use that
pop culture reference from Zach Berman
reference
on a Tuesday.
Yeah. But no, look, it's a reality of traveling, and I did it to myself by trying to fly standby on flights too. But it was fine. It was fine. I was able to watch the show. I just regretted that I couldn't be on the show, but I snuck on twice.
Twice?
Or snuck on once, then I came on twice, but I didn't come on. I was backstage.
Oh,
Yeah.
When would that happen? And
Yeah.
why? Was it right before Nick? Is that...
No, well, yeah, you were on, and then Fran got off, and you're like, maybe Zach can jump on now, and I jumped on,
nice.
and then
You really were coming to my rescue. That's nice.
yeah, and then Fran came back, and I had to log on the Zoom for Nick.
Yeah, that's why we ended the show as well.
Yes.
Because I had a question for you. Do you want to know what my big question for you was?
Yes.
I have one more wedding question for you after
Anything,
the
yeah.
big.
Well, not anything,
the
but
big
yeah.
Berman wedding.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you were the kind of person, you know, this is your baby brother Nick. He's getting married.
Younger brother. Yeah.
You called him the baby of the family.
Yeah, that's true. I call him the baby of the family.
Even though Jenna's younger.
He's the youngest boy, so he always kind of got babied. I felt like, but yeah.
Oh wow, shots fired.
But no, he had to grow up fast too, and he's the man.
Okay, so you're seeing this person who you love have this wonderful celebration filled with all this love. I'm curious if at any point over the weekend you were moved to tears.
Yeah, I was.
All right. My big boy has emotions.
Yeah, for like really, personal reasons I don't need to delve into in the show, but just big family events can be emotional for me sometimes.
Okay, good.
So
I'm happy for you getting in touch with your emotions.
yeah, I'm not like unemotional person. I
You
feel
said
like,
before, like if it's not in service of being productive, it's not worth it.
yeah, but I felt actually these were productive emotions.
Okay.
This weekend, yeah, for
Okay.
sure. So
I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you.
yeah, I mean, but it was mainly I was just overjoyed for my brother and really my sister-in-law. She deserved it.
All right, let's get going.
Yeah, let's do it.
Howie Roseman, Zach, since taking over in 2016, he has made 10 in-season trades. So between week 1 and the trade deadline, can you name all 10?
Yes, from since when to when?
Since 2016, when he took over,
Okay.
until now.
All right, so let's work backwards.
Okay,
Okay, that's easier for me to do. Last year, Kevin Byard.
correct.
So what qualifies? So we're talking in season.
In season.
And so
Since
Jahan Dotson doesn't count as in
correct.
season.
CJ
CJ Johnson
does
doesn't
not
count. Okay,
count
so
as in season.
once week 1 begins the
Yes.
game. Okay, so Kevin
And as we
Byard.
go along here, I want you to answer whether you think Howie would do the deal again.
Kevin
So,
Byard.
Kevin
no.
Byard for Terrell Edmonds, a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick. Do you think he would do that deal again?
If you go based on outcome or process.
If you asked him today, could he do it again? Would he do it again? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
No, I think the process was sound though there because you needed to upgrade safety last. That was
the reasoning was Sam. but
yeah.
it
No,
wasn't the right
I'm saying
player.
that wasn't a vanity move. Some of these moves are like
Ooh, vanity.
or no, it's not like let's just make this rich position richer. It was more like that was a position where they needed
Sure.
a clear upgrade there. Okay, so then the year before that was Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn for a 2023 4th-round pick.
And I don't think he would do that again. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The year before that was the famous Vincent Jr. trade.
Kerry Vincent for a 6th-round pick, despite the fact that he was drafted that spring in the 7th round and hadn't played an NFL game.
But he loves himself some Vic Fangio though, right?
Yeah.
So he thought the tutelage that he has with Vic Fangio was.
So you think he would
key.
not do that one again?
He would not do that one again,
Okay.
right? 2020 there were no trades. With COVID it really affected the Eagles.
Took away their big swing.
2019. This is a tough one for me. 2019. Oh, wait, by the way, when we're talking about in-season trades, we're talking about trades that players that went out too, right?
Yes.
So Zach Ertz would have been 2021.
Correct.
Okay.
And
Joe Flacco was 2021 also.
yes, Flacco, they got a conditional
sorry.
6th back. Do you think he would do that again? Joe Flacco, new starter.
Yeah, but he had Gardner Minshew.
I think he probably would do that one
Yeah,
again.
he would do that one again.
What do you make of the Minshew, of the Flacco?
I don't like it
Richardson.
at all by Shane Steichen.
I just don't, it reeks of someone worried about their job, I think, which is odd. But also, like, what is the point of drafting Anthony Richardson if you're not going to give him
Exactly.
room? Like, it was a known thing that this was like the least experienced quarterback to be drafted in the 1st round in NFL history. What are we doing?
In Shane's defense, it has been bad. Like
and listen, you also have
efficiency numbers are horrible.
the constituents of like the receivers want the ball and they're not getting the ball, and the rest of the offense knows that one guy's getting them, giving him a better chance to win. It's probably why you don't start this guy in the first place, and you let him develop behind the scenes and wait until he's ready.
But I feel the same way about Bryce Young. Like what are you trying to do the Colts think they're going to go on this run with Flacco and
there is something like you do owe it to the players in the locker room
Sure.
to try to do the best thing to win that season because they're putting their bodies on the line. You only get you only get 1 year.
Yeah.
But it speaks to like probably a faulty process of quarterback development in the first place.
Sure, exactly. And you're hired to help to develop the quarterback, right? So it's a little different than a veteran who's
I thought
struggling.
that was a very good point in the Canales benching of Bryce Young. Like, wasn't the whole idea of hiring
Exactly.
Dave Canales that he could help develop this guy, and he's throwing in the towel already?
Yeah. Like is Dave Canales trying to show that he can win with Andy Dalton?
You mentioned Ertz. They also got Tay Gowan, of course. So Tay Gowan and a 5th-round pick for Zach Ertz. Do you think that was how he would do that one again?
I think Howie would have done it earlier or should have done it earlier, honestly. I think he probably could have gotten more in the offseason.
Okay. So you would say no. Just a binary yes or no, would you do it again?
Well, yes, because they were going to move on from Ertz. So I think that was the best deal at the time.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
Am I interrupting something?
No, you have 5 more.
I saw you looking at your phone. I didn't know if you got a text or
Well, I got the. You know what? I do got to shout out Underdog Fantasy. Very good at the push alerts.
Okay. Yes.
Deontay Johnson traded to the Ravens.
Got to take that out of my story. Okay. For what?
Looks like a pick swap. Baltimore's 5th for Carolina's 6th.
It's all Deontay Johnson got.
That's not a lot. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
All right.
Man, Dan Morgan's not doing great GMing.
Wow.
Philly's own.
Yeah, there you go.
So 2019, I don't believe there was a trade in 19. Am I wrong?
You're wrong. There were 2.
There were 2. Ooh, shoot. Because I know.
One that I have brought up as in the pantheon of one of Howie's best trades.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Duke Riley trade.
Yeah, everybody remembers. The Eagles get Duke Riley and a 6th in exchange for Jonathan Cyprien and a 7th. So the Eagles get value for the better player.
Yes. And then what was the other one?
That you definitely would do again.
Yep.
And the other one is, I would say, often mentioned as one of Howie's worst
Jannard
trades.
Avery. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jannard Avery.
Jannard Avery for a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, he definitely would not do that one again. Nor people in the building. All right. So then 2018, we have Golden Tate.
Golden Tate for a 3rd.
Yeah, he would not do that again. But remember the compensatory pick, right?
Yeah, the compensatory pick.
They don't win
the Bears game if they don't have Golden Tate.
It's all the same. 2017 he was the, of course, the JHI trade.
Yes,
and he would absolutely do that again. Yep.
So you've only missed one, and that was from last year. This is an outgoing player.
Oh, goodness.
Nobody coming back.
And nobody coming back.
The Eagles get a 2024 6th-round pick in exchange for a 7th-round pick and Kentavious Street.
Kentavious Street. That's right. Sorry about that.
I think you would do that deal again.
Definitely.
That makes it on the ledger 50-50, which is actually kind of tidy.
Yeah. I asked Nick Sirianni yesterday if the Eagles' history and in-season trades would affect how they look at this, because I actually don't think the in-season trades have been as fruitful. And Vic Fangio said today.
It's a good question by Tim McManus, because you might as well ask the guy who's going to shoot you straight.
And he's like, unless you're getting a guy for the future.
He said he was asked if he wants to make a trade. He's like, not really. His history is that, like, those, generally speaking, you don't get what you think you're getting midseason, and I generally agree with him. And then he was asked, I think, the follow up by Jimmy Kemsky, like position wise, and it tracks with a discussion that we have had a lot. Like, if it's a position where you got to know what's going on, linebacker or safety, you probably don't want to make that kind of midseason move. If it's a one-on-one position by nature, maybe cornerback, maybe defensive line, it's a little bit more acceptable. Yeah. But his point, as you said, was it would really make more sense if it's not just for this season. Yeah.
And then Sirianni said yesterday that he loves this team, but Howie's always looking to upgrade. Like that's Howie's job. And I asked Nick if the history affects how he looks at it, and he says every season's different.
How he looks at it, nice.
How he looks at it, and he says every season's different. Yeah.
Yes, and so I think that makes it. The big picture here is that I think you and I both believe Howie would love to make a trade.
Yeah.
They're 5-2. They're coming off their best game of the season. If anytime there's a chance to increase their Super Bowl odds, Howie Roseman is eager to do that. But you look at the state of the roster right now, it's kind of hard to figure out where they would be looking.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, and we'll get to this, I think edge rusher, but whose playing time's being affected, you're probably looking at Brandon Graham maybe playing a little bit less, but they're kind of settling into this rotation. Nolan Smith is playing more. You also want to guard against injuries. I think linebacker depth is something that they can look at. Devin White was supposed to be a depth linebacker for them. The Eagles cut him. He's actually starting now for Houston.
That was quick.
And I know Oren Burks, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. are their backup linebackers, but that's a spot they can potentially look.
I think specifically for the Zach Bond spot. And I know you have a couple options here, but somebody who could, if they needed to, play that versatile role of being able to add to the defensive line pass rush.
I still say tight end. Now, am I allowed to give credit to like conversations that aren't necessarily on the record
It's up to you.
Like with other reporters? Because Sheil always says this when I'm like, another reporter said this, and Sheil's like, why don't you just say the name? And I'm like, because I don't know if but I'll say the name.
Get Sheil out of your head.
I'll say, well, Sheil's outstanding. The more I can learn from Sheil, the better. Jimmy Kemsky, I was talking to Jimmy today about some of these positions, and I mentioned tight end. And Jimmy's point, and I think it's a sound one, is that the Eagles view their depth tight ends differently than we do. When I say we, the media covering the team and maybe the fan base even. I mean, they look at Albert O as someone who can contribute, and you saw that by using one of the designated to return spots. They wouldn't have done that if they didn't think of Albert O as someone who could contribute.
Were they not here last year?
They brought Jack Stoll back because
they're getting what they want out of Jack Stoll.
Grant Calcaterra. I mean, Nick brings up Grant often, and we've seen Grant have some flashes here. Yeah,
I think that is a position where, if they were to make a move, it would be of the bigger variety.
Exactly.
It would be the kind of guy who's going to take over for Dallas Goedert next year.
And I'm glad you said that, because we're going to go through categories, and one of the categories where I have the tight ends really is the CJGJ category, which is you make a move to help you now, and he's your potential starter next season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the depth on the roster right now. It's like you knock on wood that they haven't been injured, seriously. But because of that, they're in pretty good shape depth-wise. We can get to quarterback, but running back, I think they feel pretty good about Gainwell and Shipley. That's a spot where...
Because that's another spot they could.
I think that's a spot where you could be looking, but I think you're not going to get a difference maker there, right? And these are spots where I don't think you need to make that marginal upgrade, right? At wide receiver, they already made their big move for Jahan Dotson. And then behind them, you have guys with different skill sets. So you don't need the Zach Pascal dirty work guy because you have Johnny Wilson. You don't need the little slot guy because you have a couple other guys in Britton Covey and Nia Smith already here. Tight end we talked about. Offensive line, they've been banged up, but Fred Johnson seems to be holding up well. You've got Tyler Steen. They just activated Jack Driscoll.
Yeah, the Driscoll signing was almost like a trade deadline acquisition.
I mean, that is a Howie spin.
That's a Howie spin. Okay, no, I just mean like this.
We put up our draft. Sorry. We put up our big board, and I made sure that we put Jack Driscoll on there. Just so everybody knows.
You're right. I shouldn't put it that way. I'm saying like Jack Driscoll.
But that's the type of player, because especially for a short-term in-season thing, you would be looking for some familiarity.
Exactly. So that's more what I mean. Is like if you're trading for, we'll get to it. Like a guy like Walker Little, right? He's not starting for you. All right, so you're looking for someone who can be depth, has starting experience. Now, Jack Driscoll doesn't have nearly the starting experience as Walker Little, but I bring up Jack Driscoll because, if you were trading for an offensive lineman, it would be a depth offensive lineman, and that's what Driscoll is.
Right. You go to the defensive side of the ball. You talked about edge rusher. I think defensive tackle is a possibility, and that same conversation with Jimmy. He mentioned, they went out to sign Byron Young and put him on IR. There's a spot there, even though that person wasn't active, where if somebody gets hurt, they want somebody else there. Linebacker, we talked about. Corner, I think they're good. There's probably a better chance of somebody going than somebody coming. And then safety, you've now got Sidney Brown back. It doesn't feel like there's nowhere that's glaring like we need some help here.
Like I didn't put Budda Baker on my list here because I think that actually the Eagles, if anything, would like to get Sidney Brown more playing time. I don't think they want to block Sidney Brown at this point.
Yeah, couldn't even get him on the field against his own twin. Get that violent collision that Nick Sirianni
wanted. Yeah, you were hung up on the violent collision part.
Well, he's like, that would be so great if they could just collide with each other. These two little brothers, is that great? Like they're banging heads? I don't know.
I don't think he said concuss each other.
Yes, Sidney, great hit, but chases down. It's like I don't know. That doesn't seem that fun.
I think Sidney wanted to hit his brother.
You think he wanted to concuss his brother?
Well, you're conflating hitting with concussing, right? I mean,
I know, but when you say collision, a collision.
Well, there's a collision every play. There's a hit. I always say football's not a violent. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport, and I think there's a difference. Bless you. There's a collision every play, and so even on the line of scrimmage, there's a collision every play.
Okay. What about spikes?
What about spikes?
Yeah, when you spike the ball.
What? Am I missing something there?
Well, I mean, there's not a collision necessarily if everybody knows you're just lining up to spike the ball.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So that one play, yeah. Okay. There's not a collision there. And kneel down.
Thank you. There you go. All right. Pedantic. Pedantry wins again.
Yes.
Let's talk about our friends at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. That's a lot of users. And they live stream 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Right now, New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Who you got in the game 4 tonight, Zach?
The Yankees just to avoid a sweep. Yeah, the gentleman's sweep is that what you call it? The 4-1 sweep is a gentleman's sweep.
Okay,
is that a term? I believe
I've heard that as a term. Yes, specifically if the other team wins the 4th game.
Exactly.
Yes. Maybe the Yankees should watch the new documentary on Netflix, The Comeback, about the Boston Red Sox comeback in 2004. Bet365, we talk about them all the time. The boosts, the parlays, the same game parlays, all that good stuff. Nobody's giving you better deals than Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Whether we're talking about the CJGJ trade, whether we're talking about the Golden Tate trade, whether we're talking about the Kerry Vincent trade, a lot's changed that over the years. But one thing that hasn't, besides these trades, is the great taste of Miller Lite. Another thing that hasn't is that it's less filling. So what is the best thing about the original light beer? Miller Lite sparked that debate in 1975, and we still haven't settled it. I was walking through the streets of Cincinnati on Sunday night. I was walking back from the stadium. I made a right on 5th Street, and I believe it was 5th Street. And right as I was making that right, what sound I heard in my AirPods?
The Monster Mash.
Jamie Lynch cracking that ice cold Miller Lite. His victory beer after the game. And if he's drinking anything, what's he drinking? The ice cold Miller Lite. I also like when Fran Duffy talks about all the times he's drank Miller Lite over the years. All these parties. He said parties, celebrations. We got dig more into that. But the reason they're enjoying this Miller Lite is that Miller Lite keeps it simple, undebatable quality, great taste. Only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, only 96 calories. It's the original light beer since 1975. You don't need to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY Birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Derek Bodner in the house, carrying some Burger King. I haven't had Burger King in a while.
No?
Yeah, you?
That's because you live in the city. There are fewer Burger Kings in the city.
There's one on Columbus Boulevard.
That's true. Yeah. Have I had Burger King in a while? I've had more. Well, I don't want to keep mentioning all these places you can advertise with us, but Wendy's, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A.
I thought you were going to find a way around the names, and then you just reeled them off.
All those places are free to advertise with us. We have a great sales staff here. But yeah, I did like Burger King a lot growing up. I just haven't gone. My kids aren't. My kids have their loyalties.
Mickey D's is their loyalty?
Mickey D's and Chick-fil-A. Those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
BK, what did you like when you were growing up? That long chicken sandwich that they used to have?
Yeah. Wow.
Real kid sandwich.
You hit it on the head. Yeah. That chicken sandwich. And they was, and I always like something new and innovative, right? And so there was
chicken fries.
No, there was a time when they came out with new fries. Do you remember this?
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah. So
they were terrible.
I remember during winter break.
It was a big market push.
Yeah. During winter break, I was working I was doing inventory at a warehouse as like just like a winter break job, and I went to during the lunch break to Burger King, and that was when they introduced the new fries. And I
remember that.
I was so excited to I was like, you gotta try. You gotta try these new fries. Yeah.
But they were terrible. They tasted like plastic.
I remember liking them.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it was probably because the thread of just blindly liking every new product.
Yeah, I mean,
goes back a while.
I was always like the first person to have
these fries. Ooh, they're like the Waymo of potatoes.
It's funny.
Potato mayo.
My brother was in my brother's in Arizona. right now, and he was talking to me about his Uber driver or Lyft driver, one or the other, and I was like, why aren't you in a Waymo? And I said, like, very matter of factly, I'm like, you're in Phoenix, they have a Waymo there. What did he say? I was saying I was always one of the first people to have like I would download the beta version of AOL 7.0 or like 6.0, 7.0. Do you remember that? 8.0, all the new features. Even now, whenever there's new Apple iOS, I download the beta first. Like I'm in their beta software program because I love something new.
What do you think the pathology behind that is? Why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is?
Yeah. What do you think that goes to inside your core?
Inside my core, that there's a lot of smart, hardworking people creating new innovations, and I want to see what they're working on. Like the ingenuity out there is incredible, and so I want to be inspired by the ingenuity. And it also, if you're adding something new, then it should, in theory, make your life easier or better.
In theory, he's doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
I actually disagree. I think in practice, think about, we're on. Think about the current iOS compared to the iOS 10 years ago. It's significantly better.
I guess.
It's affecting you in ways you don't even realize, which is what makes it better, right?
With the way that it's like monitoring me?
No, think about something as small. Think about something as small as putting a thumbs up on a text. Right? Do you remember that when that was?
Oh yes, thank God. Thank God. You know what? I remember the hard Scrabble days of my life before I was able to put a thumbs up on a text. Oh my gosh. I can't believe my kids didn't get to live in a world without thumbs up on text.
Think about.
Oh my gosh.
I think about predictive text, how that's helped you. Think about.
It hasn't.
Okay, think about night shift. I
hate it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, someone says Bo is a curmudgeon. Yeah. I think that was down more. There it goes. Yeah. I wasn't making that up. Yes. Jared says that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of things to be curmudgeonly about.
I like new and innovative. And speaking of which, the Eagles might have new players next week.
Very nice, Zach. Let's just make this the Ace Hardware temperature check as we get into Zach's list of players and his buckets. So with our Ace Hardware temperature check, Zach, visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Because you see, the trade market, Zach, is heating up.
Yes, the trade market is heating up. So if the Eagles exercise that trade market, there's a few different categories that they can swim in here. And I'm going to give these to you. And feel free to add names if I don't include them. These names are put together by looking at rosters, reading reports from every NFL team to see who's on the market, who's not on the market. But these are the categories we'll get into. They'll hang up, but let's at least try category.
Okay.
The tier or 2 or 3 below, but still expensive category.
Okay.
The Robert Quinn, you respect the resume, but is that still who he is category?
Okay.
The under the radar pending free agent.
Very funny that Robert Quinn's the only one who has a specific name for
No, there's other ones too. The under the radar pending free agent category.
Okay.
The CJGJ category. He'll help us this year and potentially start next year. I liked him in college and 3 years ago category.
Okay, so the Zach Berman category.
Yes, and the Jahan Dotson, Buzzy, former first round Jahan Dotson, Buzzy, former first rounder who's fallen out of favor.
So there's a lot of F's there. Zach Berman category.
There's a lot of F's there. So
6 and 7 seem pretty similar, but that's neither here nor there.
No, because age has more to do with 6.
Got it.
Yeah. So there's the 7 is more younger guys.
Oh, okay, got it.
So they'll hang up, but let's at least try. And these are the names.
Yeah, the big names.
These are the names
Myles
that you're.
Garrett.
Yeah. So there's 3 guys here, and that's Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Jeffrey Simmons. Okay. Myles Garrett might be the best defensive player in football. I'm assuming the Browns aren't moving him. If they did, we're assuming the price is multiple first round picks.
Right.
I was having this debate with Elliott Shore Parks the other day, and I was like, yeah, this isn't like a first and a third. This is like multiple firsts to go and get someone like Myles Garrett.
Would you trade 2 firsts?
For Myles Garrett, I would. The Eagles were prepared to do that for Jalen Ramsey a few years ago.
I probably would too.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's probably 27 now. What's he?
28.
28.
Yeah, 2 firsts, a 28-year-old like that makes me squeamish.
He's a little older than you're right. He's older than Jalen Ramsey was. Older than Mike Fitzpatrick. But yeah, premium player, premium position.
He's going to be 29 in December.
Okay, I can see that there. So
I think I don't know.
Then the next one, Max Crosby. Now, Mark Davis has gone public saying that they're not moving him. Of course, we've heard, people say this guy's not being traded, then he ends up getting traded. I don't think the price will be as high as Myles Garrett, but you're still looking at a first-round plus to get him. He's been to 3 consecutive Pro Bowls, All-Pro lists each of those seasons. Jeffrey Simmons.
And he's a guy who Fangio would love because he plays like 90% of the snaps.
That's true. And he's 28, I believe.
I thought he was younger. Sorry, go ahead.
And then Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle, Tennessee. He's reportedly off limits in trade.
Crosby's 27.
Okay, 27. Simmons is reportedly off limits in trade talks. The same was once said about A.J. Brown, of course. And same team there. The Titans are a mess. That's not a good team. Jeffrey Simmons, he's one of the NFL's premier interior offensive linemen, and that's a position that the Eagles have historically valued. But I don't think the Eagles have already spent first-round picks 2 of the past 3 years on D tackles. I can't see them spending like first-round plus on another one here.
Mm-hmm.
So
you think unlikely, but
unlikely, but this is where Howie at least makes the call, right?
Is there, whether you have a player in mind or not, is there another position you think that they would be willing to go for a superstar level player?
The only other position I would say is like a tight end, but it'd be a little messy this year with Goddard. Atlanta's winning games now, but you made that prediction before week 2 that Kyle Pitts is going to be on the Eagles next year.
I did make that prediction. Yeah.
If Atlanta was like 2 and 5 right now, that's a trade I could see the Eagles trying to make.
Yeah, I feel good about that one still.
Yeah. But with the way Atlanta's playing, with the way Pitts is playing, I don't see that happening. The other high-profile tight ends, like, let's say David Njoku's moved. Something like that.
That's interesting. I can see that.
Yeah, but that would be the only other position. I don't think the Eagles go get a corner, go get a safety, go get a linebacker, go get a receiver. So it would really be edge rusher. So then let's go the tier or 2 or 3 tiers below, but still expensive category. And that's Harold Landry III.
Ooh,
edge rusher, Tennessee, 28 years old, double-digit sacks in 21 and 23.
Is it Harold Landry or Landry Harold?
It's Harold Landry,
Got it.
the third. So there have been 2 that preceded him. He missed 20. That's usually how it works. Yes. He missed 2022 with a torn ACL or with an injury. He's on the books for $17.5 million for each of the next 2 seasons. No guaranteed money.
You like this one?
Well, I just think if the Eagles were going to pay for, like, if you're saying, all right, we're not going to go for a past the prime player, and we're not going to go for just like Jannard Avery rotational guy. We want a top of the depth chart player who's in his prime but is not costing you Myles Garrett price. Harold Landry fits that category.
4 sacks on the season in 7 games, had 10.5 a year ago, and then 12 the year before the torn ACL in 2021. Gave Lane Johnson fits.
Exactly. Yeah. Someone who I recall you and Shield both liked him when he was when there was a chance he could hit the free agent market 2 years ago. The Titans re-signed him, but you see the pass rush profile and you like it. Even I think in the past years, the advanced numbers have really looked good for him.
What do you think that would cost? A second?
Probably a second for someone like him.
Be curious.
Now, that's the same money you're paying Bryce Huff. Right, so you'd be trading for him, assuming he's on the team beyond the season as a Josh Sweat replacement.
And I think there's a chance if you're doing something like this, you're trying to flip Huff.
Interesting. Well, Huff, who
you take a loss, but you get a 5th-round pick or something like that.
Yeah, send him back to Tennessee. He went to college at Memphis. Right?
Oh, there you go.
A little bit of a stretch there, but
it's the same state. I'll give it to you.
But
give yourself some credit. That was pretty good.
The Titans are a weird team right now. And there's some more Titans on this list, but they're not particularly competitive. They have a new coach, second-year GM who's clearly rebuilding here.
I signed up I was scrolling Twitter during the game on Sunday, and I see that trending in America now. We can get into Elon's terrible algorithm, and it has nothing to do with politics. But Colt Anderson, what's going on with Colt Anderson? He's the Titans special teams coach, and the Lions had like 2 huge special teams plays. It's all these people like Colt Anderson needs to be fired. I'm like, oh my God, I love Colt Anderson.
Yeah, I think Callahan brought him over from Cincinnati. Actually,
Yeah.
he's the assistant special teams coach there. Yeah. So would you make that move?
I think probably not.
Okay.
I think a second is probably too rich for me.
So if you don't want to pay top dollar, then you're probably looking at the Robert Quinn category, which is
So that was the only guy in that second tier category.
Well, yeah, because I'll be honest, I had Chase Young in that category.
Yeah. It's worth discussing.
And I moved Chase Young to the I liked him in college and 3 years ago category.
Okay.
But we can put Chase Young in this category. Chase Young, from the age profile, you like it. From like the athletic profile, you obviously like it. But then you look at it, he's never had more than 7.5 sacks in a season. His pressure rate's never been higher than 14.7%. Now, if you look at pressures this year, and I know you push back on the pressure stat from PFF, he's number 16 in the league in pressures. He was signed on a 1-year deal this year, so if the Saints weren't good, it was thought to be moved. The thing that concerns you here is now last year he was traded this time on deadline day, I believe. Commanders to the Niners for what, a third or a fourth last year?
Let me look it up.
And then the Niners didn't re-sign him. So two teams have moved on from him. Montez Sweat got a lot more than him a year ago. But he's someone who I loved him coming out, of course. I mean, a lot of teams did. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. A third. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. And you see it, like you see snaps, and we've seen it against the Eagles, both this year with New Orleans and the past when he was with Washington. He even played the Eagles twice. He played with San Francisco last year. You see snaps where you're like, oh, man, this guy has it all. But you don't see the consistent production. And when you've been in the league, I know he missed 1 year with injury, and then he was slow returning from injury the following year, but never more than 7.5 sacks in a season. You want to see more production from him. So I didn't know whether to put him in the tier 2 or 3 below and still expensive category, or the I liked him in college and 3 years ago category. But for the sake of conversation, let's put him in the tier 2 or 3 or below.
Yeah, and I think you probably don't make that deal.
Do you think he goes for less than he did last year?
Yes.
So you're looking at
Almost certainly.
Yeah, a 4th or a 5th.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 5th. Yeah. I mean, if the Panthers were trading him, it'd probably be a 6th for a 7th.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, Dan Morgan just getting crushed. By
I got to tell you, the Brian Burns trade was like an affront to my sensibilities. I felt like because like I was talking about him, I was like, the Eagles should go after Brian Burns. They should trade a first round pick. They should pay him. And then I'm like, wait, that's all it costs. I thought it was going to take multiple firsts. Yeah. And then all it cost was a high second.
All right, that's going to close the book on the Ace Hardware temperature check. Stay tuned for more as we get deeper into Zach's buckets. All right, go ahead.
Are we going on?
Just want to get the bug off the screen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. That's why you're the best host in the city.
Yeah, that's right there.
So before we get to the ads, let's just knock off, because this last category is really the last ones we're talking about, edge rushers, and it's the Robert Quinn. You respect the resume, but is that still who he is category? And I'll give you 2 names here: Zadarius Smith and Jadeveon Clowney. So Zadarius Smith's a 3-time Pro Bowler, 33 years old with the Browns, has 5 sacks in 8 games. You saw the game-clinching sack the other day. He has 3 seasons with double-digit sacks. Has 1 more year left on his deal. They signed him to an extension. But you'd be trading
power rusher.
You'd be trading for a 33-year-old edge rusher.
Yeah, I would be Zadarius Smith curious.
Okay.
Presuming that we're talking about like a 6th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's if we're talking about adding some interior depth. If you add a guy on the edge, maybe Brandon Graham can give you a little bit more in the middle, so you can move things around that way. You're probably borrowing from Bryce Huff's snaps. Maybe those two are in conjunction with each other, and that's how you try to flip Huff. But yeah, I think Zadarius Smith is the kind of player who Howie might be interested in.
Yeah. Now I just get worried because
you don't want to make the same Robert Quinn mistake.
Exactly. Now
But to be fair,
Quinn had no sacks that year.
Yeah. That year it had already looked like Quinn was dust.
And Smith is productive this year. So then let's talk about Clowney. Clowney, who I liked him coming out, actually.
Yeah, I bet you did, yeah.
Actually, I remember I told the story on the show. I remember talking to this Eagles executive who asked me who I liked in the draft, and I'm like, nah, I'm not scouting these guys what you're on. He's like, no, just we're talking draft. Who do you like? And I was like, I got to tell you, I love Clowney. And I told my brother the story, and he's like, you told him the number 1 pick in the draft. You're like, what are you thinking of? And then I turned around and I said to I came back to the person. This was the same draft. and I said, and Morgan Moses is going to be better than Eugene Monroe.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, that actually, I think that aged pretty well.
Yeah.
I watched them both, and I liked
Why
Eugene
did you think
Monroe.
that?
At Virginia, I just thought Morgan Moses was like the bigger, more. I thought he was
Posing.
Yeah, I thought he was a more physical player than Eugene in college. Yeah.
Okay.
And I really liked. I mean, Eugene was so technically sound. He followed up like Eugene and Brendan Albert were on the same offensive line. DeBrickashaw Ferguson was there before them. So I had done a lot of work on the UVA offensive line.
Got into cannabis, I believe, Eugene Monroe.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Good for him. Good for him. He's built a good life after football.
Going to fish shows with Julia.
Maybe he just likes music. Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I've never been to a fish show. Yeah.
Devin Clowney also played a big role in an award-winning Zach Berman story.
That's right. That's right. The final game of Carson Wentz's 2019 season. We'll get
tip of the cap.
But by the way, my musical ignorance was seen in the press box the other day, when
and on the show.
And on the
show, to be fair.
When I got to tell everybody, I got to offer a quick mea culpa here.
This was it was an absolute flabbergaster when you told us after the fact what the song you were singing on the postgame show was.
Yeah. So I was singing the song September. Okay.
No, you weren't.
Oh, no. And so this is where I really screwed up. Okay. So there's the line, Byard dancing in September, Byard never was a cloudy day. And I thought never was a cloudy day. I thought they were saying dancing the night away. So when I said dancing the night away, that's actually the lyric, never was a cloudy day. And I didn't know
just
that.
Going, dancing the night away.
But there is a dancing, because I was saying in the press box, I was like, what was that song? We were trying to talk about it. I was like, it's the song you hear at weddings, and they're like the Michael Jackson song, and then they start singing that. I was like, no, not that one. It's like da da da, it's like I was doing on the show.
Has anyone ever told you you have a beautiful voice?
That's not me singing. But there are certain songs I can sing better than others.
What's your best song?
I sing to my daughter to put her to sleep at night. So some. Like I make up songs.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like lyrics about her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you had to sing one song that's best in your vocal register? What would it be?
So I wrote a paper on Bob Dylan in college, and it got me really into Bob Dylan music. Like the lyrics were awesome, and so I remember freshman year while working on this paper, I would be listening to Bob Dylan over and over and over and over again. Because I had to. I'm dating myself here. So this was fall 2004. It was harder to find lyrics then, right? Like now you have Shazam and that kind of thing, or even all the musical services have the lyrics for you. Then there were some websites, but downloading music was still Napster, that kind of thing, or LimeWire. Am I right? So. I remember listening and transcribing the songs, the Bob Dylan songs. So probably some Bob Dylan songs I can sing.
Dancing the night away.
But he doesn't sing that. But yeah. But positively 4th Street. There's a Rolling Stone. All these
nail
songs.
Those?
Yeah, I mean, at least I can get all the words.
Sounds like a super chat.
I could get all the words for those. But that was a good paper, actually. I was proud of that one. Got an A in that class. ETS 107 or 207.
I bet you would cringe if you had to read that again.
That paper? There might have been a few typos. No, I'm kidding. There were not typos back then. So, anyways,
all right. Well, speaking of,
wait. Here, let me just tell you.
Hold on.
Okay.
Speaking of Bob Dylan, we got to go to break.
Oh, yes.
Because Bob Dylan likes to wear sunglasses. Cool looking dude. He should get himself some Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead. With quality shades built to last, our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. Excuse me. They probably have a pair in your style. Love my Shady Rays. Wear them all the time. And we've talked about they got the best protection deal in the industry. If you don't love your shades, you can exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. And if you lose them or you break them, you can get a replacement with Shady Rays. It's the best. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
First impressions are important. What about lasting impressions, though? That's where Blue Chew comes in. And I want to tell you about our friends at Blue Chew because they help boost your confidence in the bedroom so you can stay hard and perform at your very best. Does Blue Chew work? If you're asking that question, we want you to know that Blue Chew is putting their money where their mouth is by giving you a month free. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part? It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night. Good for you. So you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Does it work? You don't think you need it? Try it for free for a month and see. You're going to love it. Your partner is going to love it too. You could be missing out on the best sex of your life. With Blue Chew, men everywhere are excited to see the postman because when your package has arrived, your package has arrived. They say there's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can help you give confidence where it counts. And we've got a very special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY. At checkout, just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast.
You did a very good job there.
Yeah.
I was trying to stay out of your way. I didn't want to make you, trip up there. Mm-hmm. One question I have.
Yeah.
It seemed like the one bit of extemporaneousness you did there was day or night, good for you.
Yeah.
Why that? Why is that?
Because all times of day, like the moment's arrived at all times of the day. That's great. Good for you. Yeah. I don't think that requires explanation.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're confident at all hours of the day. It's good for you. Yes. Yeah. Back to Jadeveon Clowney, okay? Jadeveon Clowney. So he had a 9.5 sack. So this is a guy similar to Chase Young, high draft pick, number 1 pick in the draft, of course. Hasn't had the prolific pass rush production that you typically seek. But he has been a difference maker on the field. That said, he's bounced from team to team to team to team. So no one's like, all right, Jadeveon Clowney's a 5-year guy for us. He had 9.5 sacks last season in Baltimore. And then Dan Morgan decided to sign him to a 2-year, $20 million deal with Carolina this offseason. Okay, he is
poor Morgan family.
Yeah, and actually, I'd like Dan Morgan, but I don't like the moves he's made during the past 6 months. So Clowney has 1 sack and 16 pressures in 6 games this season. Although I'm reading Joe Person, he's an outstanding reporter, covers the Panthers for The Athletic, and in his breakdown of Clowney, he says like the numbers are misleading because teams are just running the ball in the second half against them, and he says it's similar to Brian Burns last year. Would you trade for Clowney?
Probably not.
But you trade for Smith, so you like Smith?
I would rather have Smith than Clowney. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry we're getting to this category at 248, 249. But this is the category that I think the Eagles could go swimming in. The under the radar pending free agent category. And I'm going to give you the first name here, and we'll have a conversation about him. Baron Browning.
Your boy.
And I'll give credit secondhand to Chris Long. You told me Chris Long mentioned him a few weeks ago.
Like a month ago. Yeah.
Yes. So I missed that episode, Chris. I'm sorry. If you're watching this episode, Chris. But Browning was drafted by Vic Fangio.
Probably had people tell him about the Blue Chew ad read. He couldn't miss it.
He couldn't miss it. Okay. Browning was drafted by Vic Fangio when Fangio was the head coach. Now, he's drafted as an inside linebacker for them. He started 9 games, I believe, as a rookie for Fangio that year. Fangio gets fired, new coaching staff comes in. The new coaching staff turns him into an edge rusher. He's had decent production during the past 2 years.
Undersized, crazy speed.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, really athletic. That was the book on him coming in. He was good size for an inside backer, undersized for an edge rusher. And this year, he started off as a starter, got injured. He's been a rotational player since he's come back. He's someone who, if you read the Broncos reports, could be moved because he's in the last year of his deal. They have other young rushers like Nick Pitino who have been jumping on. And so Browning, what?
Rick Pitino's son, Nick Pitino?
No, Nick Benito. Sorry.
Benito Applebaum.
My bad. Baron Browning.
I'm sorry. I did not need to correct.
No. It's important. He has a name, and his name deserves to be said correctly. Browning, the profile is similar to Zach Bond. So the Eagles took Zach Bond, who was used as an edge rusher, really with the Saints, or was kind of this edge rusher, inside backer hybrid, and they made him this inside backer who can rush. Vic Fangio clearly evaluated Browning as an inside backer, but he's shown that he can get to the quarterback. So here, he's a depth guy. Potential starter, but he can help you in multiple spots. He can give you this edge rusher depth. He can give you this Zach Bond spot. As a pending free agent who's not a starter for them, I can't imagine the price is prohibitive. And he's young enough that if you like him, you can sign him to an extension.
I like this one a lot. I think it's if you're gonna nail one on the head here, I think this is a pretty good shot because it covers for something they don't have cover for, and that is the flexibility that Bond gives them to be able to flip-flop between those two positions. I think that's a very realistic one.
It helps you. Yeah, I think unless you're moving the needle with the starting spot, a guy who can help you in two positions makes a lot of sense. The next guy here is someone who we like on the show, Azeez Ojulari. He's a pending free agent. The Giants have a lot invested in Brian Burns and in Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't know why the Giants didn't trade Saquon Barkley or Xavier McKinney at the deadline last year. I don't know if they're going to do the same with Azeez Ojulari if they can't sign the guy to an extension. But the Giants are 2-5 for 7 of 8 seasons now. It's remarkably bad. And he's someone who we've seen firsthand can get to the quarterback, but I don't know if he's part of their long-term plans there. Yeah,
you would assume that the Giants might not want to trade him to the Eagles after Mara just gave them their best player. But I think he's a good player for sure.
Next one here is, I'm sorry for the name. I should have put the pronunciation instead of the spelling of the name. Dayo Odeyingbo. Dayo Odeyingbo. And he's a defensive lineman with the Colts. And he's I call him the Colts version of Milton Williams, okay? You guys remember him coming out
it's like you coined this nickname. I call him the Colts version of Milton Williams. They're going to have that on this Pro Football Reference page.
Yeah. So I liked him a lot coming out of Vanderbilt, and he was injured. And you remember Chris Bauer took him some time to get back to health.
Fran says it's
Odeyingbo. I can say, okay, thank you, Fran. I should have put the pronunciation. Odeyingbo. I can say that well. So Odeyingbo, thank you, Fran. He had 8 sacks last season. Okay, he's playing a career high 63% of the snaps this season. All right, but he's someone who, if you're looking at pending free agents, the Colts typically like to sign their drafted players. There's questions about whether he's going to be there long term. He's someone who plays on the edge in Indianapolis. With the Eagles, you would look at him as like inside-outside versatility. He can probably play defensive end and odd man fronts.
Okay, good one.
And then the next one in this category is
in that one you're talking about like a 6th or 7th round pick, right?
Yeah. And the next one's Walker Little, offensive lineman with the Jaguars. Some tackle guard versatility there. He was a starter. He's not that now. They have Anton Harrison starting for them.
But he just took over for
at guard, or
for Cam Robinson. They benched Cam Robinson for Walker Little. So I was actually wondering if Cam Robinson would be the guy you bring to Statler University as a long-term potential project.
Alabama guy. He likes those Bama guys.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one too. I'll throw him in here.
Okay.
So let's go to this next category here. And this is the Jay.
Hit the like button, everybody.
Yep. This is the Jay Ajayi move. He'll help us this year and potentially start next year. In this category, it's tight ends. For the reason we mentioned, we don't know if Goddard's going to be here after the season. This is a position where the Eagles can look for players on rookie contracts who could potentially take over. I didn't include Njoku on here, but Njoku, he's around the same age profile as Goddard, a little younger, but you're not looking at him as like your next 5-year tight end. We'll start with Chig Nkonkwo from the Titans. Did I get that? Or
Yeah, you were close enough.
Okonkwo.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that not what I said?
You got it.
Okay. Chig Okonkwo. And liked him a lot coming out of Maryland. Shout out Marissa. 4.52.
Do you remember the summer you said you were going to
work on pronunciations?
Pronouncing every single player in the NFL's name correctly?
Yeah. I focused on the Eagles. Chig Okonkwo. 4.52 40 coming out. He had 54 catches last season. But he was not drafted by this current regime in Tennessee. And there's a slight dip in his playing time. They've actually been going more with Josh Weil at tight end. And Okonkwo, his numbers are down this season. But like I said, 54 catches, athletic. He's a move tight end. I like him more than the league does, I think. But
yeah, I think this is probably more of a just you're buying a distressed asset.
Sure.
And you know, he can take Albert O's spot.
Yep. Then the next one here, and I want to preface this one by saying I recognize that there are complications or considerations that go beyond football here. So I don't want to seem naive because I don't know what the issues are. Michael Mayer with the Raiders, he's out right now for personal reasons, and I don't know what those personal reasons are. And so if it comes out that there's something serious, and I don't want to be naive in including him on this list. But if he is returning soon and the Raiders are taking calls on him, Brock Bowers has been outstanding this year. I don't know who called that, but Mayer, 23 was the 20.
How are the Raiders doing?
Right. Well, that's a quarterback thing more than it is their tight end. I mean, Brock Bowers has historical numbers for a rookie tight end right now. Michael Mayer was a 2023 second-round pick. He had 27 catches and 12 starts last year. This is one where you look at your scouting report from a year ago. If you think he projected as a starting tight end, you try and get him now because he's the number 2 tight end there. I know they talked about playing 12 personnel, but given what Bowers' his role is, if they can get something for Mayer, if they're looking to move him, the Eagles are a team that should definitely call.
Yeah, without knowing anything about what the personal stuff is, I think that's the profile that Howie Roseman would be definitely interested in.
I liked him in college and 3 years ago category, and this is one that I don't see occurring, and this is Mike Williams. Mike Williams, who has a history. I don't know if he has a history with Sirianni. I think Sirianni was
maybe.
I think Sirianni drafted him actually his last year with the Rams. But
Kellen Moore was with him last year.
That's true. Kellen Moore was with him last year, and he's been replaced basically by the Jets. He's rumored to be on the trading block I think the Eagles can use help at depth wide receiver, but they already made the Dotson move. Mm-hmm. So you're not spending much. But if you're willing to take on the rest of Williams' contract, he's on a 1-year deal. If you think there's a change of scenery there, I just don't know how much Mike Williams has left at this point.
Yeah.
And then the last one here, the Jahan Dotson, buzzy former first rounder, is falling out of favor. We might see 2 of them this weekend, and that's Devin Lloyd and Trevor Etienne. Okay, and I don't know about Etienne, and there are teams that probably need Etienne more, like Dallas, for instance. But Devin Lloyd is, from all indications, has not played particularly well. Defer to Fran on Thursday when we do our Jaguars breakdown. But Lloyd, you probably could have called this an old linebacker who
I did call.
Yes,
this,
yeah, a bit of a reach. I know there were some Eagles fans who liked him in that draft, and that is one where you say, like, just like Jahan Dotson, all right, he's fallen out of favor. This was our draft grade on him. We'll see if the change of scenery is better. Etienne, someone who I really liked. Now, I think he was a little overdrafted by Urban Meyer, but they're getting a lot of production from Tank Bigsby right now.
I have one more on this level for you.
Mm-hmm.
Curious what you think.
Yeah.
Bryce Young.
Well, I think that there are other situations that might be better for Bryce Young. But, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a trade and flip, perhaps. Like
What do you mean?
you trade for him, you develop him for a year, and then you flip him next year, something like that.
Yeah, or you bring him in and you see how he's
see
doing.
how he is. Yeah, I mean, look, I love Bryce Young coming out.
You trade Pickett somewhere else.
Yeah, I still like Bryce Young.
Could be
I
a
think
long-term backup to Tanner McKee.
I think what Kevin O'Connell said is accurate. That I think sometimes organizations fail quarterbacks as much as quarterbacks fail organizations.
Dan Morgan.
No, that's, and I actually don't think that's a Dan Morgan thing.
Of course not.
Yeah. But I look, maybe, and there's draft people that I really respect who said Young was overrated coming out and they didn't like him then. But there's also people,
I cannot imagine a more Howie Roseman move than trading for Bryce Young.
And do you know where he's from? Philadelphia. Well, he grew up, he was born right across the Philly border, I believe, in Lancow Hospital. And moved at a very young age. But his family's here, I believe, in like the Abington area.
Okay.
Great story in the Inquirer a few years ago by Mike Jensen, one of the GOATs, on Bryce Young and his Philly roots. I was envious that he wrote it.
I have just a couple more for you.
Yeah.
Calais Campbell. Now, he was available
Yes.
into the summer, and the Eagles didn't sign him, so it's not like there's a ton of interest there. But if you're looking for, maybe they need another veteran in that interior group, that's a possibility, as Miami's record is pretty bad. Tight end, I have Austin Hooper.
Okay.
From the Patriots. If they don't, if you're looking for some kind of upgrade on Stoll, but not a huge one. And then, who's an old friend who you might want to bring back? Rodney McLeod.
Just as safety depth.
Yeah, safety depth.
Okay.
One last ride. Flip a seventh. I don't know.
Love to hear he does great things in the Philly community. Bring him back. Yeah.
Bryce Young, that's the shot that I'm calling.
Okay.
I like your Baron Browning. I think that's if I had to pick one, that's the one I would pick.
I mean, if I'm Miami, I'm calling about Bryce Young right now.
Yeah.
And I think some of what's made
I agree.
Of what made Tua good in that offense, Bryce Young can provide that.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Anything else?
No, I'm sorry that I screwed up the name of the hospital. Lankenau. Or I'm sorry, Lankenau. I can't read from here. My eyes aren't very good. Is there anything else? I don't think they make a move, or I think they'll try to make a move.
One thing we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
What about trading somebody out?
Who would it be?
Isaiah Rodgers?
Isaiah Rodgers might be starting on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, as the fact that Isaiah Rodgers is ahead of Ringo. Yeah, maybe a Ringo.
But Rodgers is a free agent to be. So if you get a real offer for somebody who needs a starting caliber corner, that's a possibility, I think.
Any chance of Darius Slay?
I don't think so. Anaya Smith. I'm trying to think.
Albert O.
Albert O.
You bring him back on the 53 to trade him.
Yeah.
Pickett?
Potentially.
Okay.
Could see that. Huff. But there's not a lot.
No, Huff's actually an interesting one, right? Because, a team's not paying what the Eagles paid.
Right.
And so you kind of cut your losses. You can rationalize it by saying, look, we took a swing. It didn't work. We're always going to be aggressive, that kind of thing. And if you read between the lines of Vic Fangio's comments, like he was much more effusive about the progress that Nolan Smith has shown than the progress that Bryce Huff has shown.
Yes. The other one I would say, as a super duper long shot, I don't think this is going to happen. But if you are of the opinion that CJ Gardner-Johnson is having too many missed assignments, and you think that Sidney Brown can do that job better, and you want to make that change, and you don't want CJ Gardner-Johnson to be here as the backup.
I don't think that would work out well.
I don't think that would work out very well. You could maybe convince yourself to do that, but the league, if the Eagles are giving up on this guy who they brought back, they're not like they're going to get a lot of value for that. So
it's a fair point.
Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I think it might be a disappointingly quiet deadline, but
there's nothing else going on that day, so we're
gonna have a 2-hour show that day. That'll be fun.
There's nothing else going on then, right? I do.
How he's trying to call in the Baron Browning trade, and Adam Peters is lighting fire to his phone to stop him from being able to get it done.
I do. I don't want to be a shill for the NFL, but like I do disagree with your idea that like the audacity of the NFL to have this on Election Day. It's supposed to. It's the Tuesday after that week of the season. Like that's what's in the NFL rulebook, right? So. Like it's not like they're like, let's put it as counter programming for Election Day. It's what in the CBA and
should
then
be a national holiday. Election Day.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. But like they still have trade deadlines on national holidays. Like it's they play games on Christmas.
Yeah, we know. Roger wants the whole world to be the NFL.
No, but I'm saying this wasn't done. I think when you framed it that way, I heard you saying like, how dare the NFL do this? So basically. And
well, I mean, that's a little bit in jest.
But yeah, like the NFL isn't assigning the trade deadline to this day as counter programming for it.
I don't think they mind it.
No,
I don't think they mind that it happens to fall on the same day.
It's in the in like whether I actually don't know if it's collectively bargained on this date or it's a bylaw. But the bylaw is the Tuesday after what week? They just moved it back. So after week 10, is it? What's next week? Sorry,
this is week 10.
Yeah. So
no, week 9, right?
Yeah. So
yes.
This is week 9 here. So next week's week 10, right?
Yeah, but next week is the trade deadline.
Yeah. So after Tuesday after week 10, right? They moved it back from week.
The Eagles are 5-2. They have one bye, so this is week 9. It's after week 9.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. That's what I meant. The Tuesday after.
The Tuesday after week 9.
Yes, of week 10. Yeah. So that's what the rule is. So it's not.
It should be later.
Okay, well then that's something that they could, you could tell Jeffrey Lurie, John Ferrari, propose that. What week would be ideal for you?
I think after week 11 is probably good.
After week 11, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It used to be like after week 6.
Yeah.
And they pushed it back. Yeah.
Yes. A couple super chats, Zach, from Joey D, who says Steichen coming home after Kellen gets a head coaching gig will be special. Like it's a good peek into the future. And then Chase Daniel Plainview, why did the NFL flex out a Doug P. revenge game featuring 2 of the highest paid quarterbacks and force the nation to watch Brian Flores murder Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I would
they
imagine.
Were worried Doug wasn't going to be the coach anymore.
Yes. They made that decision when the Jaguars were what they were. Obviously, they made the decision when the Vikings were hot at that point. I actually think, the shame is the Eagles wearing the Kelly Greens, and the Kelly Greens look so. Now we don't have a basis of comparison because the 2 games were afternoon night games last year, but I've said this on the show. We have this photo bank that we use from the Kelly Greens look so good.
Oh yeah, you got to see Joe Panunzio in those Kelly Greens.
I should have asked Vic Fangio today. Vic always chooses the Kelly Green, so this is a big week for Vic. He's not out of style. Instead, I asked Vic a different joke that didn't go over.
Are you allowed to tell that story? It's a very funny story.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, I won't get into like what was said, but in Cincinnati, Vic Fangio had after the game, there was one elevator bank for coaches. So the Bengals coaches went and then the Eagles coaches went. So the Eagles just had this emotional win, right? Or this big win. They want to get down there and they're sitting there waiting for the elevator. And usually you have more than one elevator. And like Vic didn't seem thrilled that he was waiting for it. They did win the game, right. But it's like
he's getting angry about having to wait for this elevator.
He wants to go down with his help. So I tried.
One of the assistant coaches says, "Vic, we just won the game."
But I tried like making a joke to Vic today, but it didn't land.
That's one of your go-to moves, huh? Is when the coordinator press conference ends, you want to get one little joke and one little thing into the coach.
Yes, my game. Absolutely. It's little things to try to get them to know that you see them as more than just like up there throwing questions about them. That there's a person behind these answers. Like typically, I'll bring up something from their past, something. Yeah. That
makes it sound creepy. It's. I promise it's not as creepy as it sounds. It's a little creepy, but it's not that creepy.
So I actually.
Linda from 8th grade says hello.
So I again, I will say this. One thing I called over to Nick last week was is your family friendly with the Bengals broadcaster, right?
Yes.
Because I had corresponded at one point with the Bengals broadcaster about Nick. They went to the same high school, right? But you try to, or, if I asked Michael Clay if he remembers the last time Oregon was the number 1 team, because he was on that team, right? Little things that show like they're not just there like serving you, asking you questions. Like you acknowledge who the person is. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's why I try to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a tactic.
After Missouri has a good game this year, I'll bring it up to Kellen Moore. I mean, Missouri's played well, but this was not the right week to bring it up. His brother's the offensive coordinator at Missouri. Okay. You didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Kellen Less is who that is.
What's that?
Kellen Less.
Kellen Less. Okay. But yes, these are some of the things that I try to do.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to say it. Okay.
What? What?
Nothing.
Okay.
That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Zach's trade deadline preview. Good stuff. You can check out the written version on all PHLY in a little bit. For Julia and Zach, Fran in the chat, we thank everybody for watching and listening. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Jamie and Handsome Rich in studio. Fran and myself in studio on Thursday with Zach.
Yes.
With Zach. And then on Friday,
all Thursdays going forward, it seemed like.
Daniz joins the fray as well. That'll do it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.